Hey there, bumper stickers and lollipop lickers. Did the week really go by that fast? Is it already Wednesday again? Are we really about to? Alright, no nonsense this video. Let's do Daniel chapter 4. Let's dive right in. I don't know what verses we're starting with. Verses 1 through 19. So this chapter is a little bit unique from the three previous because in this chapter, we start getting things from Nebuchadnezzar's point of view. Once again, Nebuchadnezzar is plagued with this dream, and in this dream, there's this tree, and the tree is very tall, and the tree is very healthy, and all the little animals come under the tree, and they use it for food, and the birds are in the branches, and it's a really great tree. But then this holy messenger comes onto the scene and commands that the tree be cut down, and for them to leave the stump, and he gives all these other commands as well. And once again, Nebuchadnezzar doesn't know what this dream means, so he calls up his magicians, he calls up his astrologers, he calls up his diviners, and guess what? None of them know either. And what I find really interesting in this section is in verse 9, when Nebuchadnezzar calls Daniel the chief of the magicians, and he says, I know the spirit of the holy gods is in you. And what will happen sometimes in our lives, especially with people who are non-believers, is they will recognize the work of the Spirit of God in our lives, but they won't know what to call it, so they'll just start calling it other things. You are so inspirational. You're such like a good person. Just like Nebuchadnezzar, they'll try and put it in terms that make sense in their own minds, but inside, you know where the true credit is due. You know that it is the Spirit of the living God working within you. All right, so Nebuchadnezzar has this dream and he calls on Daniel to interpret it. Let's see how our boy does. Let's read verses 19 through 27. Wouldn't you know it, Daniel interprets it again. But we find out that this tree in the dream is not the king's enemies, but Daniel reveals that the tree is the king himself. Nebuchadnezzar is the tree. Plot twist! This dream is a prophecy that Nebuchadnezzar and his kingdom will be cut down and he will begin to live like an animal until he acknowledges the one true God. And the big thing I took away from this section and this whole chapter is that Daniel tells the truth, even when it won't make him popular. In this book so far, we have seen Nebuchadnezzar's temper. We know what he does when he hears things that he doesn't like. But again, Daniel is committed to telling the truth, even if the king's not gonna like it. And this section ends with Daniel telling the truth. In verse 27, he gives his advice. He says, therefore, your majesty, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. Let's see if Nebuchadnezzar takes that advice by reading verses 28 through 37. What do you expect? Nebuchadnezzar is unable to put aside his pride, and everything that was promised in that dream does end up happening to him. And in verse 30, we see Nebuchadnezzar's pride shine through so clearly as he says, is not this the great Babylon? Is not my kingdom the kingdom I have built as a royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty? And the reason that this language stuck out to me is because this is the language that we should be using to describe God. But Nebuchadnezzar, in his pride, is using it to describe himself. And a huge point that I made sure to write down in my journal was that pride causes us to put ourselves in God's place. But once again, as we've come to expect, the chapter ends with Nebuchadnezzar sort of having another conversion, and he falls face down and worships the God of the Bible once again. But if we're really honest with ourselves, don't we do this in our own lives? We commit to God, but then our behavior tells us different and we sort of stray away from Him. But then something happens and we commit again, and then we stray away, and then something happens and we commit again. So something here that I wrote down in my journal is that just because we know who God is, doesn't mean that our behavior will change automatically. And this chapter ends with Nebuchadnezzar saying of the God of the Bible, he says that those who walk in pride, He is able to humble. And I would actually make sort of an addition to that, saying that those who walk in pride, He is able to humble again and again and again, or however many times it takes. What I want to walk away from, and what I want you to walk away from in this chapter, is that God is not going to give up on you. I think that's a great point to end on. Thank you all, as always, for watching. I really, really do appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos. As always, comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this chapter, your thoughts on Daniel in general. And if this series is speaking to you, if it's encouraging you, please send it to a friend. Get a friend to kind of jump along with you. Maybe watch the videos together. Get together, get some popcorn, hang out, watch the videos. If you have the time, check out some of our other videos. Please subscribe. And last but not least, keep being awesome.